In Chapter 1, Alina and Mal are hiding in Kofton, working to save money for their journey west to escape Ravka and the Darkling's reach. Alina struggles to adjust to life in Novi Zem, feeling weak and purposeless without using her Grisha powers. Still haunted by nightmares, she lives in fear of being discovered. One evening, after meeting Mal, they return to their boarding house, uneasy under the landlord's suspicious gaze. As they reach their room, they realize too late they've been found. The Darkling and his Grisha ambush them. Alina's attempt to fight fails when the Darkling reveals new shadow creatures, living extensions of his power, immune to her light. In the chaos, one of the monsters attacks and bites Alina, causing immense pain as she collapses. The Darkling whispers, "Thank you," implying that her past actions granted him this terrifying new power. In Chapter 2, Alina awakens on a ship after a week of forced unconsciousness. Genya tends to her while Ivan guards her under the Darkling's orders. She realizes she and Mal have been captured and are aboard a whaler bound north. When Alina demands to see Mal, the Darkling shows her he's alive but threatens that if one of them disobeys, the other will suffer. He reveals the shadow creatures, Nichevoya, creations born from his new power, and warns her the wound from their attack will never fully heal. On deck, Alina meets the ship's captain, Sturmhond, a charming yet cynical privateer working for the Darkling. Later, Genya visits Alina, revealing that few Grisha survived the fold and that her own loyalty lies with the Darkling, who freed her from servitude. Heartbroken by Genya's betrayal and their isolation, Alina resolves that she and Mal must find a way to escape once again. In Chapter 3, the ship sails into the icy northern waters of the Bone Road, where the Darkling seeks another Morozova amplifier, the sea whip Rusali. Alina realizes he intends to combine amplifiers despite the danger. The Darkling forces Mal to track the creature, threatening to torture Alina if he fails. Under pressure, Mal claims he can find it, buying them a week. Later, the Darkling confronts Alina privately, revealing his belief that only they, as Grisha of great power, can rule Ravka together. He shows her the lives of saints and hints that their connection is inescapable. Meanwhile, tension rises between the Grisha and Sturmhond's crew as the ship nears its destination. On the 6th day, Mal signals they're close, and the crew prepares longboats. Amid the mist and fear, Alina and Mal share a brief moment of hope, until Rusali, the legendary sea dragon, breaches the waves before them. In Chapter 4, the hunt for Rusali begins as Mal successfully tracks and sights the legendary sea whip. The creature fights fiercely, but Sturmhond's crew manages to wound and capture it. Suddenly, another ship appears through the mist, Sturmhond's true vessel, and his men attack the Darkling's whaler. Chaos erupts as Sturmhond turns against the Darkling. Tamar and Tolya reveal themselves as heartrenders, killing Ivan and freeing Mal and Alina. Genya, torn by guilt, refuses to flee. Sturmhond, with his crew and Grisha allies, rescues Alina and Mal onto his schooner. The Darkling retaliates, summoning his shadow monsters, the Nichevoya, which swarm the ship. Alina uses her light to push back the darkness, while Sturmhond orders his squallers to summon lightning, blasting the creatures apart. The schooner escapes the Darkling's range and speeds away. Exhausted but alive, Alina and Mal realize they've been saved, though by dangerous, unpredictable allies. In Chapter 5, Alina and Mal recover aboard Sturmhond's ship, the Volkvolny, after escaping the Darkling. Sturmhond presents Alina with the sea whip's body, urging her to claim it as an amplifier. With Mal's help, she kills the creature and its golden-edged scales are cut free. Sturmhond reveals he betrayed the Darkling for profit and was actually hired to deliver Alina to a secret client in West Ravka. He gives her back her copy of the Lives of Saints, which shows the sea whip alongside Morozova's stag, hinting at a third amplifier. Though wary, Alina agrees to go with him. On board, Tamar and Tolya revealed they volunteered to fight the Darkling and that they're both heartrenders. Later, as Alina studies the book with Mal, they realize Morozova's amplifiers form a connected set, proof that a third creature still exists, one that could change everything. In Chapter 6, Alina and Mal discover that the Lives of Saints depicts Sankt Ilya, Morozova, wearing chains beside the stag, the sea whip, and a third creature, the firebird. Realizing these are Morozova's amplifiers, Alina becomes convinced they must find the final one. Despite Mal's fears, she insists the amplifiers are the key to defeating the Darkling. That night, with Sturmhond, Tamar, Tolya, and a fabricator's help, Alina fuses the sea whip's scales into a glowing fetter on her wrist, linking it to Morozova's collar. The experiment nearly destroys her as immense power floods through her, blazing light across the sea. Mal pulls her back to herself and she regains control, though she feels incomplete, aware the amplifiers are changing her. At dawn, Sturmhond urges the crew to flee in case the light exposed them. Mal admits her power frightens him, but Alina vows she can master it, determined to face what's coming. In Chapter 7, the Volkvolny sails southeast toward West Ravka, as Alina practices the Sea Whip amplifier to avoid detection. Sturmhond's rogue Grisha crew, including Heartrender twins. Tolya and Tamar train Alina and Mal in Zemini combat. Rumors aboard confirm the Shadowfold is expanding. The First Army nears revolt, and the Apparat's Sun Saint cult is growing. Alina warms to the crew and to Sturmhond, but remains wary. The Astori Sanctia depicts Sankt Ilya with a stag, a sea whip, and a firebird, suggesting 3 Morozova amplifiers are linked. Convinced they need the third amplifier, Alina and Mal decide to pursue it. Sturmhond offers passage and a conditional promise of help. At night, they board the Hummingbird, a twin-hulled craft that flies using squalor winds. Despite Mal's protests, Sturmhond pilots the Hummingbird into the fold. The craft plunges into a perfect unnatural blackness and they enter the fold. In Chapter 8, as the Hummingbird plunges into the unsea, Alina holds a vast light with both amplifiers. Volcra swarm. Sturmhond orders the crew to bait and shoot, and the schooner's modern guns slaughter many of the beasts. Mal guides them to wreckage, the Darkling's broken sandskiff, where they discover a Volcra nest. Sturmhond detonates shells. The Hummingbird is rocked. A squalor is gravely wounded, and the Darkling briefly appears and attacks Alina before she blinds the fold with light. The craft loses lift, plummets, and crashes into a blue lake. The crew swims ashore. On the beach, Sturmhond's face is altered, a tailor's work, and soldiers of the First Army arrive. Their commander recognizes Sturmhond as Nikolai Lantsov, a royal officer. The troops kneel. Sturmhond Nikolai announces he has brought the Sun Summoner to Ravka. Shocked, Alina reacts by punching him. In Chapter 9, Alina and Mal are held in a tent near Kribirsk after her public outburst against Sturmhond. When he arrives, he reveals his true identity, Prince Nikolai Lantsov, second son of Ravka's king. Nikolai explains that Ravka is collapsing. The fold is expanding, the First Army is near revolt, and the Darkling's coup destroyed the Second Army. He seeks Alina's help to unite the country and proposes a political marriage to strengthen their alliance. Mal reacts violently, but Alina diffuses the confrontation. Refusing marriage, she agrees to return to Os Alta to help stabilize Ravka, on one condition. She will lead the Second Army. Nikolai accepts her demand. Tension builds between Alina and Mal as he questions her growing ambition and fears she's slipping away. Alina privately resolves to face the Darkling and end their conflict once and for all, no matter the cost. In Chapter 10, Alina, Mal, and Nikolai spend 3 days transporting weapons and supplies across the fold. Anti-Grisha sentiment spreads after the Darkling's attack, and many Grisha either flee or join him. During the crossings, Alina hides her growing power and fear of the fold. When they finally depart for Os Alta, she is uncertain of Mal's loyalty, but relieved he stays. Passing through Kribirsk, Alina sees the names of those lost in Novokhribirsk, strengthening her resolve to stop the Darkling. They meet pilgrims selling fake relics of Sancta Alina, proof that the Apparat's cult is spreading. On the road, Nikolai shifts from privateer to prince, planning to win public support. Tension flares between him and Mal, though Mal agrees to lead Alina's personal guard. As pilgrims gather behind them, worshipping her as a living saint, Alina begins to grasp both the power and danger of the faith rising in her name. In Chapter 11, Alina travels toward Os Alta with growing crowds of pilgrims, forcing her to ride in the coach while Mal, Tolya, and Tamar guard her. Nikolai spends the journey discussing inventions, strategy, and the Darkling's weakening power, which he believes buys them time. He also reveals his father's illness from Genya's attack and the Apparat's escape. As Nikolai coaches Alina in leadership, he publicly kisses her to strengthen their image, sparking gossip of a Sun Queen and jealousy from Mal. Later, at a noble's estate, Mal and Alina reconcile, sharing a kiss and his acceptance as captain of her guard. Their moment is interrupted when a group of Grisha arrive at the gates claiming loyalty to Alina. Nikolai warns they might be spies, but Alina insists they be welcomed, deciding to speak with Fedyor, an old ally, and allow the rest to join her army on the march to Os Alta. In Chapter 12, Alina learns from Fedyor that after the Darkling's attack, soldiers turned on the Grisha, forcing many to flee, some joining the Darkling for protection. Fedyor pledges loyalty to Alina and agrees to travel with her to Os Alta. The next morning, Nikolai stages a grand procession into the capital, joined by Alina, Mal, and returning Grisha. At the city gates, they are confronted by Nikolai's brother, Vasily, who commands the First Army. Nikolai skillfully wins over the soldiers by invoking his wartime service and camaraderie. The group enters Os Alta, where refugees crowd the outskirts and pilgrims hail Alina as Sancta Alina. Inside the Grand Palace, the royal family welcomes Nikolai home, and King Alexander reluctantly grants Alina command of the Second Army. However, he punishes Mal for desertion, discharging him dishonorably. As they leave, Alina feels the weight of leadership and the fragile politics awaiting them. In Chapter 13, Alina returns to the little palace with Mal, Tolya, and Tamar, uneasy about leading the Grisha. Inside, she finds the once vibrant palace subdued, guarded by First Army soldiers. The remaining Grisha, mostly young and divided, greet her with suspicion. Sergei challenges her authority, and Zoya unexpectedly supports her. When others accuse her of treachery and her ties to the Darkling, Alina loses control and unleashes a massive burst of power, splitting the Golden Dome open. Regaining composure, she commands the terrified Grisha to follow her or leave, declaring herself their only hope. Afterward, shaken, she retreats to the Darkling's former chambers. As she explores, she feels his lingering presence, and then sees him appear before her, solid and speaking as if real. Overwhelmed with terror, she drives him away with her light, but hides the truth from Mal, realizing she's haunted and no longer certain of her own sanity. In Chapter 14, Alina wakes in the Darkling's chambers and faces early conflict as Sergei, Zoya, and other Grisha protest her leadership decisions. She asserts authority, declaring all orders equal and commanding the Grisha to train together, including the fabricators. Nikolai arrives, praising her firmness but provoking Mal when he joins them for breakfast. Nikolai sends Mal on a royal hunting trip, suggesting it will build alliances, but the tension between them deepens. Nikolai warns that the apparat's cult is growing, spreading rumors that Alina is imprisoned by the monarchy. After Mal storms out, Nikolai admits his ambition and uncertainty about his own morality, though he insists he'd still give her freedom if she wanted it. Later, Alina visits Bagra, who has been blinded by the Darkling. Bagra warns that using all three amplifiers will destroy Alina, refuses to help her find the Firebird, and rejects her completely, leaving Alina shaken and alone. In Chapter 15, Alina convenes her first war council in the Little Palace, gathering Grisha leaders to discuss rebuilding the Second Army. They debate pardoning deserters, the apparat's growing cult, and strategies against the Darkling. Alina reveals what she knows about the Nichevoya, creatures immune to ordinary weapons but weakened when far from their master. David identifies the Darkling's power as merzost, forbidden magic that drains his life force. After the meeting, Alina struggles with paperwork and attends an awkward dinner where the divided Grisha sit together uneasily. The next morning, she says goodbye to Mal, who leaves on a royal hunt arranged by Nikolai. Later, she meets with Nikolai and advisors about Os Alta's defenses and learns he secretly plans to rebuild the Hummingbird to evacuate her if the war is lost. Alina refuses to abandon Ravka, but agrees to supply squalors and ensure Bagra has a place aboard. In Chapter 16, Alina corners David in the fabricator workshops and learns that Ilya Morozova, known as the Bonesmith, did not discover amplifiers but made them using merzost, the same forbidden magic the Darkling wields. David explains that after the Fold's creation, the Darkling's supposed son destroyed Morozova's journals to prevent others from repeating the experiments, though Alina realizes this was a lie to conceal the Darkling's immortality. She spends nights researching Morozova and Sanctilia, but finds all amplifier references erased. Tolya helps translate religious texts, revealing towns where miracles occurred, suggesting leads on the Firebird. Later, Alina and Mal visit the royal chapel, discovering only a decayed triptych of saints. There, Alina sees another haunting vision of the Darkling, unseen by Mal, confirming he can invade her thoughts. As they leave, Prince Vasily approaches, arrogantly proposing marriage to Alina, which she rejects, realizing both princes seek to use her power. In Chapter 17, summer settles over Os Alta as Alina and Nikolai focus on preparing Ravka's defenses. Their spies cannot locate the Darkling, forcing them to plan for a siege of the capital. Nikolai fortifies the city, installs heavy guns, and coordinates the First and Second Armies. The Grisha work with fabricators to develop new weapons against the Nichevoya, though many experiments prove dangerous. Court duties consume Alina, and Vasily's meddling in strategy meetings frustrates everyone. Meanwhile, Nikolai strengthens unity between soldiers and Grisha through joint training, forming elite mixed units called Nolniki. Alina evacuates the Grisha students to Karamzin, but allows Nadia's brother, Adrik, to stay and fight. Later, she confronts Zoya, who admits she now fights for Alina out of guilt over family loss to the fold. Though distrust lingers, Alina lets her remain. Finally, Mal invites Alina to a secret fortune-telling party, and she agrees, craving one night of freedom. In Chapter 18, Alina sneaks away with Mal and Tamar to a masquerade party in disguise, seeking a night of freedom. The celebration descends into chaos when a fight breaks out, separating them. Alina is captured and confronted by the Apparat, who calls her Sol Koroleva and urges her to lead his growing army of fanatical followers. He hints that Morozova's lost journals, containing secrets of the amplifiers, still exist. Before Alina can act, the Apparat escapes, leaving her shaken. Back at the palace, tension flares between her and Mal as he confesses his frustration with life among the Grisha and his growing alienation. Their argument turns emotional when he accuses her of changing and losing herself to power. As they finally kiss, Alina sees the Darkling's vision taunting her. Horrified, she flinches and Mal storms out heartbroken, leaving Alina alone as the Darkling's presence closes in, cold and intimate. In Chapter 19, Alina asks David if her amplifiers can be removed, but he tells her it's impossible, destroying them would unleash catastrophic power. When he mentions hearing that Genya was with the Darkling, Alina confirms but doesn't know her fate. At the next war council, Nikolai clashes with Vasily, who mocks the danger of the Darkling and reveals Nikolai's illegitimacy before storming out. Despite this, Nikolai secures small but vital reforms for Ravka, and Alina assures him he'll make a good king. During the Belyanak festival, the Grisha grow more united, but Alina grows isolated as Mal becomes distant and drinks heavily. Her obsession with finding the Firebird deepens, and the Darkling's visions haunt her nightly. When David's mirrored dishes are completed, Alina's amplified light destroys a swath of forest, proof of their new weapon. Later, Nikolai comforts her, nearly kissing her but stops, sensing she still longs for Mal. In Chapter 20, Alina struggles with loneliness and regret after almost kissing Nikolai and fighting with Mal. Restless, she follows Tamar to the stables and discovers Mal secretly brawling against Grisha for sport. During a brutal fight with a squaller, Mal wins, but then kisses Zoya as the crowd cheers. Devastated, Alina confronts him and they argue bitterly in the woods. Their pain and frustration erupt. Mal feels useless beside her growing power, and Alina admits she can never return to who she was. When they touch, a strange jolt of energy surges between them. Back at the palace, Alina confesses that she's been seeing visions of the Darkling, fearing she's losing her mind. Mal silently walks away. That night, Alina dreams, or believes, the Darkling comes to her disguised as Mal, kissing her before revealing himself and vanishing. Terrified, she flees her room before dawn, unable to sleep or escape his haunting presence. In Chapter 21, Alina slips out of Osalta at dawn and finds a swollen pilgrim camp chanting her name as a saint. The crowd surges. They tear at her coat and hair until Tolya and Tamar fight her free and herd her back through the gates. Back at the little palace, she demands Nikolai meet her in the war room. She shows him an atlas page. The ruins called Divya Stolba, 2 mills, match the arch, depicted behind Sankt Ilya in the Istori Sanctia. Concluding the Firebird might be there, Alina insists she must find it. Nikolai warns that her leaving would undo the Second Army's work and offers scouts instead. Mal, however, declares he will hunt for the Firebird himself, asking for Tolya or Tamar to accompany him and forbidding Alina to join. Despite her protest, Mal stalks out bruised and determined. Nikolai and the twins begin preparations. Alina realizes letting Mal go may be the only way forward. In Chapter 22, Alina attends Nikolai's birthday dinner, where tension brews between her, Mal, and the royal family. During the feast, Vasily proudly announces a new alliance with Fjerda, revealing he lifted northern blockades to reopen trade routes, unwittingly exposing Ravka to invasion. Nikolai immediately realizes the alliance is a trap. The Darkling and his army are already near. Alarms sound as the palace is attacked. The Nichevoya swarm through the windows, slaughtering nobles and soldiers alike. Vasily is killed instantly. Alina, Mal, and Nikolai fight to protect the king and queen, then split up, Nikolai leading his parents to safety while Alina and Mal rush to defend the little palace. They find it devastated, Grisha dead, and the defenses shattered. Rallying the survivors, Alina leads a desperate stand, wielding her power to carve through the Darkling's shadow army. Just as they falter, Tolya, Tamar, and an army of her devoted followers arrive, shouting her name. In Chapter 23, Alina and the remaining Grisha retreat to a chapel as the Darkling and his Nichevoya attack. Inside, Tamar reveals a hidden tunnel the apparat once used. The Darkling enters, demanding Alina's surrender in exchange for her followers' lives. To her shock, he presents Genya, horribly scarred by the Nichevoya. Seeing her broken friend, Alina finally accepts she cannot defeat him through force. She pretends to yield, asking that Mal be spared. As they embrace, she secretly turns his power against him, seizing control of the darkness and forcing it outward, creating shadow creatures of her own. The strain nearly kills her, collapsing the chapel around them. Mal carries her into the tunnel as the building falls. Buried alive, she is later revived by Tolya and Tamar. When she awakens underground, she discovers her hair has turned white, her light is gone, and the apparat hails her as a living saint reborn.